Day, and I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
And this episode is coming out right after Christmas.
Yeah, which was amazing, you guys. I'm assuming,
wasn't it?
It was amazing. You know what? Are you guys literally off? I'm off on the 19th, or not the 19th. This coming Friday, which is before Christmas. Mm-hmm. We're recording early until January.
Yeah. I'm technically off after Wednesday of next week.
I work all next week, but it's like work in quotes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the week before Christmas is like, we're working, but are we? We're sending as few emails as we possibly can.
Oh, absolutely. It's just the quiet time.
Yes, meetings are getting canceled. That's what I started seeing come in over the last week. Was all these.
You'd love to see it because what do we got? We have nothing to talk about right now,
guys. Come on, fine. Yeah, like we're technically working because there's technically a few things that need to be wrapped up.
Right.
But none of us want to be here, and we can just be honest about that at this point.
I really think I literally last week was like, I don't think even this past week I'm like nobody's working.
December. Yes, absolutely. Once Thanksgiving hits,
it's a downhill slope.
Yep. Exactly.
Which I enjoy.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do like that I am off for the week between. I know that not everybody has that privilege.
Very privileged.
And
yeah,
also,
and
I didn't always have that. I worked on Christmas. I worked on holidays. Mm-hmm. And definitely I worked the week between when I worked customer service. Yeah. You had to work. Yeah. So I've been there. But now that I have that week off, it is
blessings.
Just into the abyss. Become one with the couch. Yep. You know what I mean?
Mimosa.
It's a really
beautiful
good
time. Yeah, so much mulled wines coming my way. Looking forward to it.
I'm just gonna lay on my bed with my pets. I've actually been working from my bed this week.
Me too.
That's where I'm at.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm this is fine for the amount. I mean, nobody's gonna see me. I don't have to be on camera. The amount of just moving my mouse around, to make sure it stays active.
Slippers. I've been in slippers.
Yeah.
I've been in pajamas. Let's be real.
For sure.
You're lucky. Yesterday, I seriously woke up and rolled over and grabbed my laptop 10 minutes before 9 a.m.
Yep, love it.
And just turned it on in bed.
Mm-hmm.
I am so fucking feral now that I think any kind of RTO policy would break me.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just don't think I can do it now.
No, it's hard when I have to spend, because I only have to go to the office a couple days a week. That's the rule. But even then, a whole day, like a 9 to 6 day at the office, I'm like, what am I doing? What do I do with my hands? For all that time.
Going into 2024.
Yeah.
Listeners.
Revolts.
No, I'm saying that technology is supposed to help us work less and be more efficient, right? So the last time there was any kind of major labor movement was in the early 1900s with Henry Ford or something like that, and the 40-hour week.
That's right.
I fucking think it's time.
It is beyond time
for the 4-day
work week. I'm with you.
We've proved that we can remote work.
I need strong energy music behind this.
Yes,
presidential.
Need a revolution.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We have a fucking AI. We've got all of these other things.
Countries do it.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Why can't we all just 4 days? Just Monday through Thursday. Let us have that long weekend. Friday should be part of the weekend. It basically is anyway.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm completely with you. And I know it to be true too, because being back in the office, I can feel it. That it's what did we do for 8 hours before? Because I work, but nobody is working.
The 8-hour workday, especially when you have to commute to an office, is so fucking outdated. No one's working 8 hours. No one.
You spend sometimes just staring at your screen, you're waiting for an email to come in.
You're playing Wordle.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
getting up an unnecessary amount of time to get snacks. Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Oh my God. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So much coffee.
Way too much.
Looking at TikTok in the bathroom.
I'm using that private bathroom even when I don't need to, just so I can have TikTok for 5 seconds.
Yeah. No, there's no reason for an 8-hour workday. That's stupid. 6 max. Let's say that.
6 hours, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
It's plenty.
Yep. Dude, I want naps.
Yes, me too. I found out because they made new buildings. My job, my work made new buildings, which I think is part of why they're forcing everybody to come back. But before they built the buildings, they were like looking at amenities, polling people to see what they wanted. And I wasn't around when all that was happening. But one of the things they had asked about was like, would you like napping pods, like napping rooms?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, fucking yeah. I don't need an hour to eat.
Nope.
I don't need an hour to eat. 20 minutes to eat, maximum 40-minute nap.
Yep. That's right.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'll go back to work.
Siesta space.
Yes.
We love it. Yeah, no, I definitely think that this whole RTO thing has everything to do with the fact that corporate real estate is poised for a massive like explosion. And what we're all doing is pretending that things have gone back to quote unquote normal. After the last like 8 years have been anything but normal.
We are not normal. None of us are normal
anymore. No.
I have this conversation at least once a week. Like I am changed. I think permanently.
Yeah,
there was a while where I was like, maybe
I'll rewired.
Yeah, I was like, maybe I'll spring back or something. I don't think that's happening. I think this
rewired.
is the new me.
Yep.
For better or worse. And I think that that's the way it is for society. And like we are just not addressing it.
Yeah.
Like we're just not addressing it. We're just like, let's just go back to exactly how things were before. And I'm like, we can't.
And I think that's the weirdness or the weird vibes that you can sense out there. And I'm like, because everything is telling us like, oh, like back to normal. And like everybody knows and can feel that shift. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not.
But
it's not.
It's weird. It is. You're absolutely right. But it's hard to diagnose what the new normal is, right? Like I don't want to be in my house 24/7, 7 days a week. But I think that like, cause I don't think that's good for me. No, but that's all I feel like doing.
Yeah, I understand. Same. It's
I also have a visceral fucking reaction to the term girl boss now. In a way that's just like, yeah. I'm not girl bossing. I'm not boss babying. Like I'm doing none of those things.
No, listen, if I could survive, and I know myself well enough to know that at least in my current state, it's just not going to happen. But like, if I could survive living on my own in a cabin in the woods, I fucking would.
I feel like you could.
I don't know. I'd like to believe that I could.
Like a place that's like close enough to the city to get into.
I would need to be close enough to a town. I guess Christina's over here like,
I'm going full on fucking Mountain Witch.
I want to be a cottage core bitch in my heart.
Yep.
Yeah. Like honestly, I want a tea garden. I just want to sip tea that I have grown myself on my porch. Okay. I want to be wrapped up in a cardigan that is 3 sizes too big.
Yes.
That is just what I need.
Many clear jars with like lids that have dried like herbs or flowers
hanging upside down from the ceiling in my kitchen.
Eucalyptus.
I am about that life. I want several cats.
Yeah.
You know, I just, this is.
See, my dream is actually more this, but the library version. I want to live in a library. I just want like a big
dark academia vibes. Yeah.
I want just a big window and just be surrounded by.
I love that.
Books and more books.
Yeah,
but books that are put in shelves. Like I don't want books on the floor and shit. I don't want clean.
Like really astounded by people that are like, oh man, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have like work or whatever. I'm like,
live your life.
Think of a million things that I want to do that I don't.
Wealthy?
Forget it.
Are you kidding me?
Forget it.
I'm just, I'm with you. Look,
dream bigger.
You don't have to be bored. Like not working doesn't mean you're just like sitting at home doing nothing. Like travel. But if you have money, like I'm not talking about like you aren't working and like you have absolutely no money coming in. Like people who are independently wealthy and are like, well, I choose to work. I'm like, why?
There's so many other things.
Get a hobby.
Do. Yeah. I'm trying to find literally, I had the perfect like aesthetic like house picture that like popped up on Pinterest that I know I pinned somewhere, but I'm like, oh my God, I want this. But it was literally like this little cove that was like almost like a bed. And it was like surrounded by like just books.
I want a house covered in moss, you know,
like
or
Hobbit?
ivy or something. Yeah. I need peace in my life.
I want that like Victorian storefront down below me.
Oh yeah,
live upstairs.
I love that too.
Like
and
a little bookstore.
Have a little shop.
downstairs.
Yeah, like a nice little shop.
Bell on the door.
I love it. Oh, we can dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we have.
So, but hey, go into 2024 with that fucking fire in your belly. Like, if people try to make you do stuff that we did, 8 years ago, fuck them. Fuck them all. We're not doing that anymore. If we all go into that, I don't want to, don't tell me what to do, like energy.
Yeah, we need to go in as united.
Yes.
Okay, united as a group.
Yeah.
All right, they can't stop us all.
No, they can't. They can't make you. Whatever.
My boss doesn't listen to this.
Oh.
I feel like I'm moving to Germany and they will make me go into the office. they're big rule followers there.
I guess
like.
We did talk about this on our shorty, but I don't think we talked about it on the main. And I know that not everyone listens to the shorties.
True.
So it is worth bringing up again.
In case you missed it.
Yeah.
I am going to Germany. So the scoop, right? Like for anybody who's listening and is just curious. It'll be for no less than about 3 months, technically. So I'm going through like a program that we have at work. It's kind of like a foreign exchange student kind of situation.
Love it. I love that.
Is the best way to say it. And then I think there's a strong possibility for a long-term transition into a long-term position. I'm very excited. It's in Hamburg. Germany, we saw the numbers. You're number 5 on our list of listeners.
Oh, yeah,
countries that
that's true.
listen.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you're out there. I'm coming to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to continue to record remotely. It's actually not that difficult. So we'll make it.
Technology makes it work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I have mixed emotions. Like I'm sad, in some aspects, but I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm
It's an adventure.
I'm so pro adventure.
You only live once,
Yes.
Take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who are we going to FMK to round out 2023?
Okay.
Oof.
So I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
And not to give anything away from my Tainted Love that I'm going to do later, but I think a good tie-in would be classic Hollywood hunks.
Oh. Okay.
All right. Now listen.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be careful here.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
It's a loaded weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because some of them sus. Okay.
Yeah.
And
if
also,
I call out a sus one, you just let me know.
and we don't know everything.
Of course.
Listeners, we don't know everything about all these people.
No.
So
I don't know everything about a lot of things.
yes, about most things.
Most things. Yeah.
I know some about a lot of things.
Yes.
I don't know everything about anything, I don't think. But yes, so if they have done something that we don't know about, please know that we didn't know, or we wouldn't bring them up. But you know what I'm going to go with? And this man, I know that he was born in 1899.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
he probably definitely did some suspicious things.
Absolutely.
But of what I know about
Probably
him,
voted
I think,
against women voting.
Yeah. But what I know about him is pretty positive in terms of him being a good person. And I adored watching him. I loved old movies whenever I was growing up, and I adored watching his movies. And that is Fred Astaire.
Oh,
I'm gonna go Fred Astaire.
I think from what I've heard. Okay, so the thing about Fred Astaire, the story that I love, is that he taught Debbie Reynolds how to dance that dance. That because Dude Face was being
Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, singing in the rain. Because Dude Face was being a total fucking dick about it.
And I've only ever heard him
young.
say really complimentary things about, like, Ginger Rogers and him had a very sweet relationship, and he only ever said lovely things about her and she about him. And so what I know about him is very positive. That's not to say that I know everything, as I said.
Okay. Yeah. Let me look. Because obviously you got your Cary Grant, you got Marlon Brando was
Bing Crosby's.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando was hot though. When he was
Until he
young.
wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Yes.
right.
I'm doing James Stewart.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart.
Stewart.
And that's appropriate because this is coming out around Christmas time and It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
I do love that movie. I watched it recently.
Dude, what's that movie? Like, was it Mr. Something Goes to Washington?
Mr. Smith, I think.
I almost said Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill.
No.
I'm just a bill.
But yeah, I blame
is that
that
him?
for making me like idyllic about
Jimmy Stewart.
About government.
Oh yeah, no.
Where I'm like, it does work, democracy,
propaganda. For
damn
sure. No, but I've heard great things about Jimmy Stewart as well. I really have. So great.
I love Vertigo. That's probably my.
Oh, I love Vertigo.
Yeah.
And he's in Rear Window, which is also one of my favorite movies. Rear Window is up there for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we got Jimmy Stewart. We've got Fred Astaire.
I'm gonna go with Gregory Peck.
Classic.
Hot.
Yeah.
So hot.
Atticus Finch.
Oh.
I mean,
This is gonna be tough actually now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
very different. They're very, very different.
I hope there's nothing bad about Gregory Peck because I really, really
when people
like
are
him.
too
Look at this
handsome,
picture.
I
So
worry.
handsome.
He's so handsome. And when people are that handsome, I'm like, I'm suspicious. I am. I'm just like, what did you get up to? What did you get away with?
right. Yeah. Exactly.
Hot people get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I don't know of anything
All right,
that he's done.
let's do signs.
Okay. Well, I already know what Gregory Peck's sign is. Do you guys want to take guesses?
Gregory Peck.
Earth sign.
Earth sign, I think too. Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Aries.
Oh, I
no.
can see
April
that.
5th.
I could. Oh God. Sorry, that was very specific.
Sorry to anyone who has an April 5th birthday.
That was a very specific person.
Okay, Jimmy
Yes.
Stewart.
All right, guess.
Jimmy Stewart. He seems gregarious and stuff. I would put him like a Leo or something.
Okay.
He is a Taurus.
Oh,
May 20th. May
Okay.
20th. Okay. And then Fred Astaire. Let's see. Fred Astaire. He is any guesses here?
Fred Astaire. He's so kind.
Yes.
He has like a Pisces or Cancer energy to me.
He is also a Taurus. May 10th is a Taurus,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20th is almost the cusp of Gemini, isn't it?
It is on the cusp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I believe it's still a Taurus.
I think I know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to marry Jimmy Stewart.
Okay, I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
He seems,
Seems fun.
but you know what? He seems fun, but also in that grounded way.
Yeah.
You know, like he can have fun, but he also is like, you know what? But I also know when I need to take care of business, you know, do what needs to be done. I think I'm going to fuck Fred Astaire.
Oh,
I mean,
he's got
those
moves. Yeah, he's
And
got moves.
I actually think he's the least attractive
Agree.
of the group.
But when you
he's
watch
got
him dance,
charisma.
yeah, he's got riz, and the way he dances is so like magical.
It's very effortless.
Yes.
It looks like, and I'm like, what else can you do that you can make look easy?
yeah,
He has a general, and again from like the stories I've heard about him, he has a general care and well-being and thinks about the other person that you get from him.
I think that's what makes him such a good dance partner.
That's right.
Is because
That's
he's very
why I think he'd be
giving,
giving
in bed.
in bed.
Yes, I agree. I do.
Yeah?
He's gonna take care of you for sure.
Yep.
Yes,
Gregory Peck isn't going to take care of you in bed. He's going to take care of himself.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'd be kind of okay. I'd be like,
I mean, but
you're Gregory Peck, which is
so
why I
hot.
know he's gotten away with some shit because I myself would be like, this is fine. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you're Gregory Peck. Just
Okay.
give me whatever you're gonna give me. I'll take scraps off your table. That's all
he's
right.
so good looking.
Yeah.
He is ridiculously good looking. But
I feel like one time
that birthday specifically
is very triggering for you.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. It is. It's really kind of turned my opinion for that. So
A man that good looking and an Aries.
yeah.
Oh, he knows.
On April 5th.
He knows how hot he is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is a miserable relationship. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually marry Fred Astaire.
Oh,
I like
I
it.
like this for you.
I
Yeah.
actually think that he, not just his dancing, but his personality is lighter. So when you're looking between these two Tauruses, I think they both seem like, not super, I don't know, serious.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy Stewart's funny
Light.
too.
Fun. Yeah.
But Fred Astaire, I think he's light. And
Jimmy Stewart's been to war, so it makes me think like there's something deep down.
moodiness.
Yeah. You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night and he's
But
gonna be
that voice.
sipping, like whiskey on the porch, and you're gonna be like, "Are you all right?"
But I'll fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong. Jimmy Stewart.
I think he'd be fun to go on a date with. I
Yeah.
would like to go on a date
time.
with Jimmy Stewart. You know what I mean?
It's going to be fun.
I think he's
Sweet.
the kind of guy, and maybe it's just because I have watched It's a Wonderful Life, but he does seem like the kind of guy who would be up for, like, let's just go exploring. Like, let's go downtown. Let's, like,
Here's what I
get
think.
into some trouble.
I think for you, Keegan, I think that of the people in this room that can and should fuck Gregory Peck, it should be you. Because I can tell you from experience that a Pisces, Aries fuck fest.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah.
I've never had sex with an
somebody's
You
Aries.
should
gotta-
not have a relationship with him.
No.
No. Never.
They're
No.
very careless with feelings
My
sometimes.
my
but
my fifis will get
Yes.
hurt. Yeah, I
Yes.
know that for sure. But yeah, no, I'm you know what? I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
I
we
just
need
and
to
report
know.
back.
I will report back.
Because I feel like it is going to be good.
You know what?
I think so.
Jimmy Stewart also has this earnestness that I think is a very pleasing bedroom quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very earnest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
If you
Yeah.
told him what to do in bed, he
would do it.
listen.
Like,
Yes.
listen, I need you to believe in this pussy the way you believed in democracy.
Yes.
Yeah. You know?
And he would.
And he would.
And he would.
Believe in
Yeah. He also has that, like, and we've talked about it many times, but he's got that, like, skinny tall guy thing going on where it's a hammer.
Yeah.
God damn.
You
Yep.
know,
Thor's hammer.
And I bet you, surprisingly, he knows how to use it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I bet he does.
You know, he
Yeah.
wields that thing appropriately, and I like that. Okay,
man.
it's in terms of I am gonna fuck Gregory Peck. I will report back.
Yeah.
It's your married.
He's dead since 2003. But you know, this is hard. 'Cause I actually feel like I could have a very happy marriage with either of these men.
either.
You really
Yeah.
could.
I think that they both seem really lovely. I think I'm gonna marry Fred Astaire though.
Yeah.
I do.
Honestly, it's
You know, you could take
yeah.
him to the club.
I can take him to the
Oh,
club. He would
shit.
get down. I would love
Shit.
to see Fred Astaire learn modern dances.
Oh.
That'd
You know
be
he could.
fucking incredible.
You know he could.
Yeah, and he'd help me, and he wouldn't
Yes.
make me feel because
Nope.
I have a hard time picking out choreography. Once I get it, I've got it, but it takes me a
Yep.
long time.
Oh, you guys
he
would be like TikTok stars.
He would be patient with me. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Me
You
and
would
Fred.
be TikTok stars.
He'd be patient with me, teaching me the dance at home
Yeah.
until I had it down, and then we would take that to the club.
Yep.
I love
Can
it.
we do a split screen with you and him, like as though you guys are a couple doing the dance together?
if only I had him as a teacher, then yes, we could do that.
Love
but
it.
I mean, and he seems patient. That's the
Yes.
thing. The fact that he did that for Debbie Reynolds is such a
yes, he's
such a coup.
He's the kind of guy who's gonna bring you like, without you having to ask, like you're working late, and he just like brings you a cup of tea or a
Yeah.
cup of coffee.
What a sweet
You know,
guy.
doesn't say anything, just walks in, gives it to you, rubs your back, and walks out. You
Yeah.
know what I
Oh,
mean?
I love it.
Love it. I love that.
I love all of that, but don't touch me.
Your own husband. Don't touch me.
It's too early. If I'm just now getting coffee, don't. rub
No, I
my
mean
back.
like late night. Like you're working late.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
And then Jimmy Stewart, love him. Absolutely adore him.
Great friend.
Yeah.
He's gonna be such a good friend.
Oh,
You
such a
just
good
know
friend.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. He's the kind of friend that you could call, like, if Fred was out of town for something and like something broke in my house, I could call Jimmy Stewart over to help me fix it.
Absolutely.
Hey,
And he
Jem.
would. Yeah. Hey, Jem, I had a pipe burst. This sounds like the beginning of a porn. I didn't mean for it to go that way.
I'm into it.
Hey, Jim, I had a pipe burst.
You come over and fix my pipe.
Ew. No, Jimmy, don't you fucking dare. Has
Did
his wife
Keegan call asking you to go
for
fix her
a
pipes
pipe
again?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. Give me the phone.
Keegan, call a plumber.
Oh,
Jimmy, put the
goodness.
phone down.
That's a fun one. Okay, we do have a new patron.
Yes, we do.
So I want to give a big shout out to Miriam. Miriam, welcome to our Patreon family. You, I think, are our last patron of 2023.
Uh-oh.
Or at least the last one that we're going to be able to shout out on
Yeah,
the
that's
podcast.
true.
So
Right.
thank you so much for joining us on Patreon. We are so excited to have you. For 2024, please let us know if you have any content you'd like us to cover, any movies you want us to watch.
And guys, you know, going into the new year, you know, we just saw Myra State's Spotify rap, and we want to give a very big thank you because our number one discoverability method is still you guys texting your friends links to the show, and that you guys have brought in all of your friends, and we're just so grateful. So thank you so much for sharing the episodes, for bringing more people into the Worsty family. We're so pleased to go into 2024 and keep this going for you guys. So also, please send in those bad dates. They don't even have to be yours. If your friend told you a wild story, we'll keep it anonymous.
That's
you
right.
know?
We always do.
Yep.
But yeah, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with stories?
That sounds good.
And we're back. All right, Cass, you are starting us off with stories this week.
Yes, and I am prepared. Here we go. A few years ago, I met a guy online through gaming. We were friends for about a year when we finally decided we liked each other and wanted to try dating. He lived about an hour away, so we ended up meeting at a park. I get there and he's wearing this, and the shirt is like open positions available, like a job post. And it's
no, it's sexual positions.
Yes.
Of course it is. We bought it at a
Ew.
Spencer's. You know we did.
gross.
Yeah. I
Why
knew
would
exactly.
you wear something like that on the...
Why would you wear something like that ever?
Right.
Yeah.
Like that is the kind of thing that someone
Gross.
gets you as a gag gift that maybe you sleep in when the rest of your shirts are dirty. You
Yeah.
don't wear that out of your home.
No.
We used to get like my brother like joke t-shirts like that, and I think back now, like when he was like 16 or whatever, and I know like I think my dad took my brother to Hooters for his like 16th.
Oh,
Your poor
no. And your brother, we should also say to the listeners, is a gay man.
Yeah.
Was not interested in
No.
Hooters.
No.
Wait, so he was not out then?
No.
Oh,
no.
poor bless
baby.
his heart.
I know.
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And I think back now to some of those like joke t-shirts and stuff like that. I'm
my
like, oh my God, how embarrassing for us, not him. How embarrassing for
Right.
us.
How embarrassing for everyone
world.
involved.
Honestly.
Like,
Don't buy people shirts like that. Is the moral of the story.
and if he bought himself this shirt, shame.
And you're walking with him in public
No.
on a date
Oh my God.
in a park.
If that man tried to, I'm walking 2 paces ahead the whole time.
Crazy crazy shirt and jeans with tons of holes, and his feet were practically hanging out of his shoes.
What?
But I don't want to be
What kinds of
shallow.
shoes?
Yeah.
I don't want to be shallow, and figured I'd give him a chance since I knew he was a nice guy.
I'd argue, because I understand, like, if the clothes are maybe dirty or there's holes in them or
Right.
whatever, I understand that. Like, you don't want to be shallow. But that shirt was a choice.
That's a
Yes.
decision that
Okay.
was made.
Yes.
That's not
Yes.
about like
That's
an
not his
income
only
level.
shirt.
Right.
He
Yeah.
thinks he's funny.
Yeah, that was intentional, and I think you are allowed to judge.
Yeah.
I'm going on record.
There you
She
go.
said, but she does know he's a nice guy. So
On the game online. Okay.
we're walking around the park when he suddenly told me that he had to go to the bathroom. I couldn't say anything as he walked just a few feet to my side and whipped it out and started relieving himself in front of me with a restroom less than 100 yards away.
Okay, all right, we're done.
No.
Right?
Let's be real. It would have been one thing if there wasn't a bathroom, but there was, and he had to.
Even
chose
if there
to go
wasn't
here.
a bathroom,
Yeah.
I understand. But also,
Go further into the woods.
go
Anything?
further, separate yourself out. Excuse me, I need to take a moment. Something. Secondly, as women, I will say I've held it.
Yeah.
I've held it for quite a long time.
Yep.
Because it is not that this is socially acceptable, but it's really not socially acceptable for women to just drop trowel in the middle of the fucking squat down in the middle of the park.
I've never successfully squatted without pissing somewhat on myself.
A little bit.
A little bit.
just
the
a little
splashback
bit.
is just
It's
like
tough.
I
fucking
have.
brutal.
I think I've managed it, but
But you have to pee bad if that's the case. We
Yes.
are so
And
like
so-
you're like struggle. I am gonna
there's
literally piss
no
my pants if I have to do
excuse
it.
for the amount of times that I hear about men whipping their dicks out to pee in public. There's not an excuse for it.
Brag. If I had one, I would love to be able to just fucking
It's true.
The amount of times that I've gotten irritated by having to pee just because the whole fucking ordeal it is for a woman.
Yeah,
like
it's
you have to
true.
go, you have to pull down your
God
pants, you gotta
forbid
sit
you're wearing
down, you gotta
like
wipe.
shapewear or something.
Oh,
Oh,
bodies.
fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Forget it.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be able to just that freedom, like you don't need to fucking brag about
But
it.
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
I think that's exactly what we're learning here. I decided that I couldn't just go running and screaming to my car because I'd never see him again afterwards anyway. So I let him take me to dinner.
I
at
think you
Waffle
could go
House.
running. Oh my God.
At
the Waffle House.
At Waffle House.
I mean, listen, Waffle House is delicious,
Listen.
but like this, okay. Anyway.
Did he
Okay.
wash his hands?
No.
No. I mean, come on.
No
There's no
way.
way. By the time they got to the restaurant, they're air sanitized anyway.
yeah, that's how that works. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
When the night was over, or so I thought, he took me to drop me off at my car at the park. However, the park was closed and we were locked out. The time on the gate said the park closes at 10 p.m. and it was only 9 p.m. Ever the gentleman, he left me in his car, climbed over the fence, drove my car around the loop on the walking track until it flattened out enough to off-road it back to the main road.
Well, that's kind.
I mean, you had to do what you had to do,
had to do what you
in
had to
that situation.
I literally was sweating. I'm probably like this girl. Am I going to be stuck for the night with
Oh,
this
no,
guy?
no. I'll walk
sleeping
home.
in my car.
I swear to
I'll
God.
sleep in the car
Yeah.
until they open.
Get a hotel room.
I am not. Yeah. I'll
if
take my
that's-
chances
if
on the
that's-
streets.
If that's
No.
the shirt that he has, I know what that guy's
You know
bathroom
what?
looks like.
Oh,
Waffle House is 24 hours oftentimes. I'll go hang out at the Waffle House. I'll be drinking coffee till sunrise,
Yep.
okay?
Get
No.
one of those
Absolutely.
pecan waffles.
Like, no. And I have to say this because Waffle House, I love a good
go
waffle.
sit in my car.
Right?
I mean, you obviously can hop over the fence. I'll go sit in my car, read a book on my phone.
But I will say for the
Night-night.
record, on a first date, avoid taking your date anywhere where there is just a drainage hole in the middle of the
Yeah.
floor
Yeah.
that
my
they
God, it's so true.
power wash down. Because I had friends who worked at Waffle House and I would be there like late at night when they're cleaning.
Yeah.
And the cleaning involved, there are drains
Yep.
in the floor.
Yep.
And they just power wash that
Listen,
shit down.
I'm not even mad about
And
that.
I'm not mad about
Glad
it.
they do.
Honestly.
I'm glad they do too. However,
I think
that
you-
is not a date. That's not a first date.
No.
The only way that's a first date is if you had such a phenomenal date that it went so late,
Late,
that
yes.
that's where you ended
Only
up at the
place
end of the
open.
night.
Yes.
That's right.
That is not the intended target for the evening.
No.
Also, every Waffle House that I've ever been in, the lighting is like the
The
most
worst.
fluorescent.
You look terrible
Awful.
in a Waffle House.
Yeah.
That's why you go there when you're really drunk.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Because it doesn't fucking matter at
Yeah.
that point. You're
Right.
Yes.
sweaty.
Yeah.
You see
Gross.
every pore
Yep.
Ugh.
and imperfection in a Waffle House.
Of
That's
course.
100%.
No.
Everybody sees what you see in those big, gigantic mirrors.
Everything's yellow.
Ugh, awful.
Like, yeah.
Not flattering.
No, no.
This is the name of the episode, Waffle House lighting. If you can imagine, I'm already freaking out in the car, but I lost my mind when blue lights lit up. The cops apparently saw him driving it on the walking path and thought he was drunk. I watched as he had to get out and stand in the spotlight and walk a line and all that stuff. I kept thinking, that's it. We're going to jail.
We aren't going anywhere. I'm leaving.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And you're not.
I
so.
hadn't done anything wrong, but this crazy dude was going to get me put in jail. Once he explained to the cops what had happened, they just let him go. I felt guilty that I'd almost had us arrested, but I hopped in my car and peeled out of there. Needless to say, we didn't date anymore, although we're still friends. He later claimed that I just make him stupid. And now I'm his advisor for all things romance.
Oh, honey.
Definitely
that's
my-
Are you being
tough job.
paid for
Yeah.
that job? Yeah. Unpaid labor.
Definitely
No.
my worst date, but it makes for a great story, especially now that we're friends and I can give him a hard time about it.
Oh my
Ooh-wee.
gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
Woof. Man.
Okay, this one is short but funny. Okay. She says, "Oh my God, where to even begin? Date from hell. He was a fucking nightmare that ended the date by trying to, quote, keep me by driving me back to his mom's place, knowing I wouldn't know what to do because I was new to the area. Bad way for the date to end. But I think the worst part was during the actual date at a really nice restaurant, he ordered a $7 bottle of wine and insisted on sniffing the cork.
I'm
Then gargled then gargled the sip that was poured into his glass and said, it's no Merlot, but it's good.
What?
Bro,
Shit like that makes me think of the guy that was like, "Oh, these shareholders are killing
Exactly.
me." You know,
honey.
you're like, "Oh, okay, you were a sommelier."
Yeah,
So
honestly,
the cork of a
$7 bottle of wine.
Why?
She says, "Bro, we're drinking 2-buck Chuck White Zin, and Merlot is not a brand. It's a completely different type of wine."
Oh my God. Like, shut up and enjoy your Robert Mondavi, okay? Like, Jesus Christ,
That's not even Josh level.
you're
Oh my
barefoot.
God.
You're
You're truly
barefoot Zen.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
He also didn't have his wallet when the check came,
Okay.
which was weird because he certainly did when we were carded for the wine. I paid, left 50%, handed a $20 bill to our waiter who brought us a ton of bread because it's free. And another $20 to our sommelier on the way to the ladies. Yes, they were together and talking about the dick that I was with. Both got an apology, upon which they promptly insisted that I keep the money, which of course I refused. So someone had a question about like, okay, you're at a place that's nice, that has a sommelier. Why did you have a $7 bottle?
I didn't even know
offer
you
that?
could get one that cheap.
Well,
you can't even get a
truly-
glass for $7 these
She
days.
clears it up. She says that the $7 bottle was a Make Friday date night special. And they didn't sell that wine on their normal menu, but this was
okay.
during the recession. So
Okay.
there was a Make Friday date night special that had $7 bottles of wine and $10 lasagna, which he ordered for them both.
Wow. Also, can we talk about, he had his wallet
Uh-huh.
and then he says he doesn't.
Call
I
him
would
out.
Totally call him out.
Call him out.
I wouldn't be able to stop myself.
Yeah.
I would have to. I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Didn't
You had
you?
it with the
My naive ass would totally be that way too, because I would totally play it that way. Because I would be like, wait a second, you just used it to show your ID.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
play dumb.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too. That's exactly what
Yeah.
I would do. But this,
Don't let them get away with
Don't
that
let them
shit.
get away with that shit.
although, it's nice that she was able to like give an appropriate tip to these people.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So let's
good.
still do that
Still.
and him pay his
Yeah.
$10.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
No
Jesus.
Merlot.
The silver
No,
lining
you're
is
right.
that
It's
no Merlot,
You're
but
right.
it's okay. How dumb do you think the person you're on this date with is? Do you know what I mean? Sniff the cork, gargle
Gargle.
the wine.
$7 white Zen.
Oh my god.
Like, what?
But the silver lining, she said, is that they both worked for Best Buy, and she got promoted not long after this date and got to fire him several months later.
We love that.
I love that for her.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Like, actually,
You suck.
I'm not gonna work here anymore.
Oh, man.
All right, let me pull mine up here. This story is very interesting. This has happened to me before.
Oh, okay.
And isn't really a date in as much as it is a dating app story, a bad dating app story. So here we go. It says, hey, everyone, I'm a 27 male, new to this thread, but just wanted everyone to hopefully either learn from what just happened to me and or possibly get a laugh at my gullibility.
Oh.
First things first, your intuition is never wrong when it comes to these apps. If you suspect someone is way out of your league, chances are the person on the other end are not who they claim they are. So I matched with this girl on a dating app who was drop dead gorgeous, and we hit it off. The conversation was flowing. I was skeptical at first, but she provided details and kept complimenting me, so I felt more at ease initially. I wanted to move our chat off the app. However, she refused to give her social media and said she doesn't give out her phone number until we met in person, which actually is reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Totally.
Yeah. So far, this wouldn't give me a red flag. Like if someone asks for your phone number, like within a few minutes of like talking or whatever,
I don't want to do that.
No.
But I'm with him on like I am suspicious. Like I said when we were talking about Gregory Peck, I'm like, if you're too good looking,
Right.
I'm automatically suspicious.
Right.
Like I'm like, why? What do you want? Are you who you say you are?
Yeah. And also like, I learned that because I was like, you get off the app, you get it. But that's how you get a bunch of maybe Chads, in your phone, you know? So.
Yeah, it's true. I do want to take this opportunity because a couple episodes ago we talked about Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco, who I don't even think we said his name because we were like that man. Sorry to that man. I don't know you.
Have we learned more since then?
So I was chastised by Thomas's wife, Sarah. Texted me. She's a Benny Blanco fan.
Okay.
I'm bringing this up because we're talking about listen. I apologize for being so rude to Benny. I don't know that man. I don't know him. Sorry to that man. But
I believe you did say I don't know her.
I don't know her. But Selena's way out of his league. Okay, I think we can all agree.
Okay.
Like just based on like physical stuff. But they seem very happy together. She seems very happy. My apologies.
Good for you.
All the way around.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go.
Great.
I've said it on the podcast, Sarah. I hope you're happy.
There we go. Okay, he says, I didn't think much of it at first, but as the convo progressed later into the night, it turned more and more sexual. And this person kept asking me about sex, kinks, what I liked sexually.
How long have they been talking?
Kinds of things.
One night?
One night.
That's too fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have been there before. It is, we'll get into it. What kind of things I liked sexually, what kind of things that they were into. Well, soon this person begins masturbating over the app and uses the audio features to send recordings of her moan and is telling me to jerk off.
What? That escalated very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a little sus because I'm like, okay, you won't give your social media handles, but you're okay with putting your voice, sharing your voice of you masturbating on this
app? Yeah.
I don't like that.
I'm wildly uncomfortable at this point. She kept typing and sending me voice recordings of her supposedly masturbating, but when I listen, it's very clear it's a man's moan that's dialed up several octaves.
Oh, no.
This person is telling me to jerk off, call them names, etc., and send them voice recordings.
No. Oh, no, absolutely not.
So I'm delirious since it's like 3 a.m., and at this point, alarm bells are going off in my head. But I decide to troll the person and send them recordings of me, quote unquote, jerking off and moaning. To simulate the sound of masturbation, I sent recordings of me spitting into a sink. And then turning on the sink and dipping my hand back and forth into the water quickly.
What the fuck?
This seems...
What the fuck? What are you doing?
What does the spit do?
What is it?
Like making a radio program show? You're like a sound Foley.
Yeah.
But you're like, what do I have here? It's
what do we got? What do we got?
Fucking MacGyver over here.
I don't understand. First, I have a lot of questions.
Oh,
I need to know what the spitting did. Like spitting into the sink, what was that supposed to simulate?
Maybe he was recording the sound of him spitting, like he was spitting on his hand.
Oh,
yeah.
But why would you record that part? That's not sexy. That's not a sexy part.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
And also, this is 3 a.m. decision making.
Listen,
because
totally.
Why not just stop talking to this person?
What the
fuck? This is a lot of work.
Yes. So I have sexted many a times. The sounds of it is not.
That's not
that
it.
Is not what it's
for me. It's not
about.
it for me. I don't know.
It might be for someone, but it's not for me either. Like for me, it's about using my imagination, reading what words, you've written,
but just like moans and like wet at ASMR.
Wet
ASMR. No. That ain't
moistness,
it.
Is not.
Splish,
it's not for
splashing.
Me. I need pictures and words. Like this is not for me. So, oh boy, did this do the trick for them.
Oh no.
This person was even more turned on.
This sounds like
and could barely type straight. Soon they're telling me to come and eat my cum and gargle it.
Trigger warning.
Sorry,
oh my God.
Hey, listen, again.
And first of all, this is not a woman. You clearly know this isn't a woman who's asking you to do this.
Listen, people you would match with people and then would be a normal conversation. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's like they'll immediately like turn it sexual. And it's like, well, you know, then that person isn't interested in like getting to the date. They're using this as like a porn thing or to get off or whatever.
Which makes me wonder why he's playing along in the first place, because it's clearly not going anywhere. Like, you're not going to go on a date with this person. You know, it's not who you thought you were talking to.
Especially if you are not going to go on a date with the person. If you're sexy and you're like, oh, I'm interested in seeing you and stuff, and it's like, okay, all right, let's cool it down and then we'll meet up or whatever. But if you're to the point where you're like, I want you to eat your cum and gargle it, you're not going to meet that person in an Applebee's on Friday. Okay,
and we have been talking for like half a business day. No, I'm not. That isn't long enough for us to be having this kind of conversation.
Look at that person,
no,
in the face over apps.
Also, there are apps for this. Like, if you just want to have like kinky time, fun time talking, like
isn't
sexting.
that like what Omegle is for and some other?
Wait,
like,
what?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, we're like, wait, what?
But I'm sure it's the internet. Like, there are places you can go.
Christina knows them all. Just message her
go to
at
myworstdatepodcast.com. I can give you a few tips. But yeah, I'm just like, if you're at that point, you are not going to go on a date. Like, there's a million different ways that you can exit out of this situation, including like close the app, block the person.
We're just gonna breeze right past that.
Okay. Dude, I got told some really nasty things, man. I'll tell you what, people wilding out in these streets. Okay, so yeah, definitely not doing that. So I send an audio clip of me taking an audible sip from a water bottle and then gargling it.
But you don't need to do this. You are getting this person off.
Why?
Like, for what reason?
No,
like, you just feel like you owe it to them at this point. You're like, well, I might as well see this to the end.
You know,
it's prom. I might as well have sex with them, I
bring
guess.
this to its conclusion.
And then the night ends with this person finishing and wishing me good night.
Oh.
This morning, this person unmatched with me.
Why
did you unmatch with me?
What? You don't say.
You let them leave you?
God.
Sir.
Honestly, I am embarrassed about this whole ordeal.
Yeah,
because
sweetie.
I genuinely vibed with whoever I was chatting with.
No.
But it's also funny because of the requests and the lengths I went to try and satisfy this person.
You really went there. I need to know what this guy's sign is.
I was about to say the same fucking thing. And this is people pleaser to 100.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, I kind of know that this person isn't who they said, but
well, they're already hard.
They're already
really hard. I
We're
feel like
here.
we just have to finish
We
it.
had a good conversation.
Yeah, I feel like I owe them this much. You know,
you don't owe anyone shit.
especially if they've been lying to you for hours.
Yeah.
No.
Remember, kids, if something seems too good to be true, that's because it might be, and trust your gut. So there you go.
Wow. But you know, like, the thing that's strange about that is that, like,
the one thing
is that he knew he was being catfished and followed through with it. It's not like he did some questionable shit and then later was like, and surprise, I was catfished. It's like, no, you knew as soon as they sent the audio.
Yeah.
That, like, that's what was happening, and you went through with it anyway.
I know. He went all like that fucking guy in Police Academy, like fucking making the mouth noises and stuff.
Man.
Like, yeah. I mean, no, I don't understand.
God bless.
There's a million different ways. Like, you've never met this person. You don't know who they are. You certainly don't know who they are because they're not who they represent on the app. Literally, it's a button to block and then the whole thing's done.
Yeah, I also just don't trust people on the internet. Like, even though you're not really gargling your own cum, that exists now.
Yeah.
Yep. Like,
in
that somebody could screen record
the
that.
Clouds where the angels
and
live.
your name is attached to it. No.
We just watched Marquis de Sade last night. Or
Quills
last night. This is a lot.
Dude, you would not believe, though, some of the wild things. People will be wilding out. You'd be having a conversation with somebody, texting back and forth for like less than a half an hour, and they will come quick with the like...
Literally.
Yeah, exactly. with wild stuff, you know? And
I believe it.
I like a slow burn. What happened to the will they, won't they? That doesn't exist anymore in dating.
Well,
That's
we talked about this. We talked about this last week. Someone, maybe us at this point, because we've brought it up so many times, needs to write a rule book. There should be rules of engagement. Things are getting out of hand. all right, like I never thought I was going to be this person, but like we got to rein it in. There needs
Get
to
off
be
my lawn.
rules in
Yes.
place
Yes.
for how to interact with each other.
You can't, after being like, hey, how are you? Oh, like, oh, work was hard. It may be like, oh, I want you to,
Get real
eat your cum and gargle it.
Oh.
No,
thank
we can't do that. We'll put that in our book. So yeah. Anyways, on that note, you guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with the Tainted Love?
Yes.
And we're back. And I'm very excited to tell you my story today.
I'm excited to
We
hear
got
it.
a whole ass laptop out.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. And when I tell you who we're doing, you'll understand
Okay.
why it's a lot. I'm actually doing a specific relationship.
Okay.
And it is classic Hollywood. And I'm going to talk to you guys about Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Jesus Christ. Here we go.
Fantastic.
Locked and loaded.
I knew almost nothing about this. I mean, like, of course, I know like the surface, like
Right.
married, like divorced and married again. I was like, well, that's
I
a
feel
lot.
like before we even get started, because these two people have such a unique back and forth thing where you're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We need to know their signs. Because I'm like, what
I can tell you. I'll
okay,
tell
you can? Okay, great.
Because Elizabeth Taylor was born February 27th, 1932
She's
in
a
England.
Pisces.
Yep,
Okay.
this tracks.
That makes sense.
It actually tracks a lot. Like I read, I have all the notes, or all of our sources will be in our show notes. But one of the sources was actually an article that she had done for Life magazine when her and Richard were together. And I'm like, oh, that's the most Pisces energy.
Everything about her now, knowing that, especially like when she got older and got more eccentric, I'm like, this is very Pisces energy.
But she fought for AIDS.
Oh yeah, she's
I mean, like
a very
she's
compassionate person.
Yeah,
Dude.
very compassionate.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Taylor, I think, is one of the most beautiful humans
I agree.
that
Stunning.
has ever been. And God knew not to do that with me. Because if I looked
couldn't
like
tell
her,
me nothing.
if I was walking around with
purple
violet
eyes?
eyes,
Yeah.
Blue eyes that were so blue that they looked violet. And I'm sorry, I read that she had a genetic deformity that gave her 2 layers of
eyelashes. I know.
Honestly, fuck you.
She was born with falsies.
you couldn't.
you.
I'm
The
not a good
shenanigans.
person at
No.
all. And if I had that face, no.
a Pisces had to do it.
Yes.
I will tell
Yes.
you that I did try to find a good documentary about. I found a couple, like there was a BBC one, but it was Helena Bonham Carter who played. And I'm like, well, I absolutely can't. Helena Bonham Carter looks like Helena Bonham Carter. There's
Right.
no.
Yeah.
You do not look like. I tried to watch the Lindsay Lohan, which was actually much closer looking, but like I got 3 seconds into it and I was like, oh, this is awful.
No. Yeah.
Immediately bad. So I couldn't find anything really that was good, but I found some amazing articles. Again,
There are books written as well
there's
about their
books
relationship.
and some of the things that I got were from like excerpts of certain books. So that's all part of the.
Let me tell you, if I'm Debbie Reynolds,
Okay, we'll talk about all of it.
Okay, yes.
we're going to
let's
talk
do
about
it.
all of it.
Yeah.
So
Wait, hold on. Richard Burton's sign is what?
When I get to Richard
Okay,
Burton, I'll let you know.
great.
So Elizabeth Taylor was born February 27th, 1932 in England. She was born with dual citizenship because her parents are actually from Kansas. They had moved to London, like outside of London, to Europe to open an art gallery and start a new life there. Great. They had a son already, and then Elizabeth was born when they were there. But by 1939, so this is like 6 years later, of course, by the urging of their good friend Joseph Kennedy, the ambassador.
yeah, he's like, get the fuck out of Europe.
GTFO. Exactly
Yeah.
right. They moved back to the States. They had some family in like Pasadena and the Palisades and here in Los Angeles. So they came here, stayed with some friends in the Palisades for a little while, but quickly immersed themselves into the Los Angeles life. Her father, like I said, was a art dealer. So he was well known in the art industry, opened a store here and had some very high-end clientele. They moved into Beverly Hills. It was a lovely, lovely life. Taylor would become a household name and one of Hollywood's highest paid actresses, but it was probably her string of husbands that made her the most famous.
Right.
And of course, the most famous of those is Richard Burton. Richard Burton, born Richard Walter Jenkins Jr.
Wow.
on the 10th of November, 1925.
10th of November is Scorpio.
Scorpio.
So you got a Pisces and a Scorpio, babe. That's why. That is why. All the back and forth. That's
say no more.
Two water signs. You got attachment issues.
And a Scorpio.
Yeah, and you're getting together. You're breaking up. You're getting together. You're breaking up. This makes perfect sense.
Everything makes sense now. Yeah, everything. It literally at the end of the story is right there. So
yeah.
He was actually born in Wales. He was the 12th of 13 children.
Buddy.
His family history is a little bit more tragic in comparison. His father was a coal miner. His mother had worked as a local barkeep, basically. Richard's mother actually died when he was just not quite 2 years old after giving birth to the 13th child, which was Graham. I think it was like 6 days after Graham was born. And they think that even though he describes his mother as a very meticulously clean woman, you're still living in 1920s, late 20s Wales with 13 children.
Oh,
right.
God.
And there is a statement, it was from Wikipedia, that was from a book that he was written about him, in which he had said that he blamed like the coal mining dust coming into the house, from his dad, and obviously not his dad's fault, but like
it's just not as sanitary as we just didn't know. I mean, how long did it take? Didn't they put that person in the insane asylum when they were like, hey, maybe you should wash your hands before like delivering babies? And they were like, you are out of your fucking mind.
Well, yeah, that happened with President Garfield.
Yeah,
just sticking the poop finger in the back hole from the gunshot wound.
You cannot. Yes. So all that to say, him believing it's a sanitation issue makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
So 6 days after giving birth, basically, his mom has passed. His dad was a busy worker, so it's not like he's like, I can just give up being a coal miner and like
take care of 13 fucking kids.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So his eldest sister really became,
of course.
Yeah.
Yes, oldest daughter. Yeah,
yeah, and also his oldest brother as well.
Yes.
Became kind of like this almost sub parents in his early childhood.
It's such
awful.
a bummer. When I was rewatching Sister Wives, I was like, no wonder the oldest children don't have kids. The oldest children don't have kids, and I'm like, no wonder, because when I'm watching those early seasons, the way like if you watch Sister Wives, Logan, the oldest boy, woke up early in the morning and made breakfast for all of his siblings. The way that like the older kids, when you have this many children, like parent the younger kids.
That's not for me.
Ooh,
I will say my niece, who I love to pieces, the oldest niece of my sister, has the least amount of children, I think, of all the kids from what I can remember. So I can understand that. Like you definitely, I don't know. I think you either take to it as like, I love being a nurturer, or you're like, this isn't really
or
for me.
It can be both. It's like it can be both. It can be like, I love being a nurturer, but I did mine already. Right? Like I did mine already. I nurtured them already. You know what I mean? Like I loved it whenever I was a kid, because there's a large age gap between me and my younger siblings. That kind of age
gap would have been amazing.
And I did. I took them on walks in their stroller. I changed their diapers. I hung out with them. And I loved mothering them like that at that age. But I'm not.
You also could give them back when you're done.
Yeah. I'm not like super fucking eager to be like, I need that. I'm like, I got a little bit of it. It was good.
Yeah.
You know?
I started babysitting pretty young too. So I also had that kind of like, I knew kind of early on that I had a very limited capacity for wanting children around me.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew pretty young as well that I didn't want to have children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And same. So now I have an adult child.
That's
perfect.
Great.
Now it's perfect.
That's. I would love to have an adult child.
There you go.
Yeah, actually, if you can skip that whole like
everything, raising them.
I wonder if there's a service where you can adopt
like a 17 and a half year old.
Well, you can do like Big Brother, Big Sister, which I think is a similar kind of.
That would actually be really.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I would like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about him. Richard was smart and interested in poetry, singing, theater. It was in school that he actually met their schoolmaster, Philip Burton, who became his mentor, essentially his surrogate father, to Richard, who had, officially at some point became his ward. Actually, there was a little bit of a note that was like Philip Burton wanted to adopt Richard when he was younger, but because he was just 20 days shy of being 21 years older than Richard, he wasn't allowed to. Right. And so, but he does become his quote unquote ward at some point, and Richard does end up taking his last name. So this is like a pivotal person in his life.
Yeah.
and probably, 1,000 things. His dad probably couldn't be the dad that he wanted
present.
to be, and it could be because, I mean, his life is the coal mine. He it's not like.
Well, he has to work to feed 13 fucking
Absolutely.
kids.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so I don't want to say this to diminish his father in any way, because I don't think that Richard Burton does that. But it does sound though as though Richard's father did have quite a bit of a drinking problem.
Yeah.
And so.
It's like Wales in the 1920s. Everybody did, right? Like
I would too.
Yeah, you're working in the coal mines
with 13 kids. Yeah. I think it would be actually weirder if he didn't.
If he didn't. Yeah. I actually have a drinking problem now, just having told you that.
Right.
So
it sounds, and again, not to excuse that, because for the children, awful, right? Like I'm sure that was difficult for them. But
you've lost your partner in life. Yeah. And now you are left with 13 children, whom I'm sure you love. But
this is the reason why birth control is important.
It
guys.
is important.
That's what we're saying.
Yes.
This is the whole point of the story, is why birth control is super important.
Yeah.
Richard came into acting through more classical theater, though. So that's kind of his background. He learned.
It shows.
Yes.
In his acting style.
Absolutely. His style is more classical theater, more trained. And he transitions his career into Hollywood, playing opposite Olivia de Havilland in My Cousin Rachel in 1952.
Talk about a tainted love story. My Cousin Rachel.
The story itself.
The story, yeah.
I've never watched it.
There's a new adaptation with Rachel Weisz.
Who's amazing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We can do it for a tainted love sometime.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I was drinking my wine.
to get through this.
To get through this story. He also then took the role of Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. By the time he meets Elizabeth Taylor on the set of Cleopatra, again playing Mark Antony, he was married to Sybil Christopher, with whom he'd had 2 daughters. Of course, Taylor, for her part, was also married to her 4th husband, Eddie Fisher.
Oh, Lord.
So Taylor, who had lived a fairly sheltered childhood under a very strict family and MGM management, because she started acting fairly young. And once you're kind of under the management of some of these houses, they really rule your life.
Yes.
And you can see, it's funny because we've all read The 7 Husbands of
Evelyn Hugo.
You see some of these. I didn't know enough about her story
that's
to know.
That's why I didn't love the book as much. I was like, this book makes me want to read an Elizabeth Taylor biography.
There's some things that, like this first story, the first husband, very much you're going to be like, whoa, there it is. She was basically eager to get married too. She's a young teenager. She's like, I'm ready to get the fuck out of this and out of the chains.
It gives you freedom.
That's exactly.
At that point, it gives you freedom.
Exactly. There's a freedom that comes from being married and having your own life and being able to make your own rules and making your own decisions, hopefully, right? She'd met through a few, gone on some dates through MGM, who'd set her up with some people. And it was also them who organized this grand, expensive wedding between her and the hotel heir, Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr.
Okay.
On May 6th, 1950. Taylor was just 18 at the time, and she was quickly disillusioned by their relationship. Nicky
is Nicky Hilton Paris Hilton's dad?
Grandfather. It's their grandfather.
Yeah.
Conrad Nicky his nickname was Nicky. And so yes, this is their grandfather.
I do think Paris's dad's name is also Conrad.
Yes. Well, that's why they have the big hotel chain called Conrad.
Yeah.
Which is like one of their like luxury hotels.
And then of course Paris's sister's name is Nikki.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
And spelt the same way too. Nicky.
Yep.
Yeah. So Nicky's a heavy drinker who's also very abusive. Taylor, who suffered a miscarriage to his violence.
Ooh.
So he was violent.
Oh.
Big drinker, very violent. They separated 7 months after they got married.
Yeah.
She was like, absolutely fucking not.
Well, I'm glad she was able to get out of it, because someone like that.
But here's the other thing. And I say that with knowing and full well, we've talked so many times about people who've been in relationships just like this, abusive, very verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive, and how difficult it is for somebody to be. If she wasn't Elizabeth Taylor, owned in part by MGM.
I'm sure MGM helped her get out of it, because they need her intact.
Out of the relationship with somebody like with that big of money.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm certain. And I mean,
because he would have wanted to hold on to her. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A failed marriage. Nobody wants to say that.
Well, and she's like a prize. She looks like Elizabeth Taylor and she's 18 years old.
Honey.
Like,
yeah.
Stunning.
Well, I mean, MGM's got money in that too. And if he is violent.
Exactly. I'm sure MGM helps her get out of that.
Caused a miscarriage violent? That's a level of violence that is... And I'm certain she's probably like, what the fuck?
And not to say that these studios gave a fuck about really what happened.
No, that was their investment.
It's their investment. They don't want to fuck up that moneymaker.
That's
exactly
that beautiful face. That's what I was saying.
Yes, yeah.
That's
exactly.
Exactly right. Yeah. They don't give a fuck about her well-being.
No.
No. They care about their money bags. So they were literally already 7 months. It's done. They're separated, divorced by January of the next year. So Elizabeth's second husband, Michael Wilding, was 20 years her elder. And I think that he saw this man, and she's even quoted as saying, quote, the calm and quiet and security of their friendship out of this relationship. So she's looking for somebody, I think, completely opposite.
Yeah.
She's absolutely.
Security.
I think she probably was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Whirlwind, insane relationship. 7 months of that's
Not
incredibly
nothing.
No,
Yeah.
it's absolutely right. Yeah, we talk about it being a short marriage, but that's still 7 months with extreme abuse.
Well, and for the abuse to have escalated that quickly in 7 months means that it started right away.
Absolutely.
Like, because usually there's like this kind of honeymoon period. You hear about that a lot in violent situations, domestic situations like that. For it to have escalated to the point where he
didn't even care to have a honeymoon phase.
Right. Yeah. So it was probably pretty intense right from the beginning.
So I think for her, this was like, I'm looking for anything that's not that, but also allows me to escape all the other things that tie me down. So I think she had a pretty good relationship with Michael from everything, they talked about, but it feels very much like she speaks about it as a friendship.
Yeah.
And that she sees this relationship as somebody who probably was a safety net for her.
Right. But there wasn't like passion.
Right.
It doesn't feel like it. And they did end up having 2 children together, but 5 years into the relationship, it really starts to fizzle out. It wasn't long after that, though, that she marries her third husband, Mike Todd.
She's really someone who can't be alone.
I think that's part of it. I think she just really enjoys being
with someone. Yeah. She loves love. It's a Pisces trait. It is. I'm sorry. You don't have to, ma'am. I'm putting my hands up here. You're not wrong.
Ma'am, it is a Pisces trait.
Yes. Yes. I understand.
Yeah. He's a theater and film producer who, with whom she has a daughter. They're married on February 1957. I don't want to go into like a big long thing, but I do want to. I read another little kind of side article that Kirk Douglas, that he had talked about his wife saved his life. And what that was Mike Todd was known to doing these big, huge, lavish things for Elizabeth. He loved her so much, and he would do these extravagant, expensive things for her. Like one of the things was getting a bunch of Van Cleef Arpels jewelry, and he had it flown in, and he put it in the front lawn, and he said, pick whatever you want.
Jesus
it's like
Christ.
Just really elaborate stuff. And I guess Kirk Douglas was like, told his wife, he's like, don't get any ideas, because they were neighbors across the street. They were living. They were living.
Imagine he's watching them do it. He's just like,
it's like, listen here, lady.
It's like, you keep that shit inside your house.
Yeah,
where I can't see it.
Don't bring this up. But they were staying in they were out in Palm Springs living at the time, and that's where this all happened. And it wasn't long after that he told Kirk, he's like, hey, I'm going to go to New York, and on my way I'm going to stop and I'm going to go see one of the presidents. I can't remember off the top of my head, Truman. And he's like, was a big Truman fan. And he was like, oh man, I would love to meet Truman. But it ended up, his wife was like 6 months pregnant, and his wife was like, absolutely not. You're not going to fucking fly across the country. And if you really, really want to, she's like, I just have a really bad feeling about it as well. She's like, if you're going to, you're going to have to fly commercial and meet him there. And she just was like, had a really like kind of gut visceral reaction. But the next day, and he was just like, fuck it, I'll cancel it. Slamming the doors kind of situation, really upset, like, grumpy. But then the next day they find out that
the plane,
Mike Todd, his plane crashes.
Yep.
And he would have been on that plane with him.
Wow.
Had his wife not been like, no fucking way. So now it was always like, he's like, forever, my wife is the one who saved my life, That's insane.
Yeah.
So It was after this plane crash, though, that she was she was in love with Mike Todd. She was like, absolutely, this, I think she really thought this could be the rest of her life. Forever. Yeah. And it was such a short time. I mean, he was not even just over a year after they got married. I mean, this is a baby relationship and marriage for her. And it was during this time that she was absolutely grieving that her good friend,
Eddie Fisher.
Well, it was Mike's good friend, Eddie Fisher, was there, shoulder to
Swooped
cry, there to help her out. And,
There's always one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and Eddie Fisher, of course, as we know, because we're all looking at each other's side, I was married to America's sweetheart, Debbie Reynolds. It was...
This was like the
Brangelina.
Jennifer and Angelina of the day. It really was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's just like America's sweetheart and like the vixen.
It's the Selena Gomez and
Hailey
Bieber.
Yeah,
if we're gonna get even closer. I mean, like it was dramatic. People were like, "How fucking ever dare you?" To Debbie Reynolds, your best friend.
Yeah, I mean do you remember whenever that happened to Jennifer Aniston and people lost their fucking minds?
Yeah.
Because they were like, to Rachel, you would do this?
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you? And I think, again, same thing. Debbie Reynolds is like America's sweetheart. Everybody loves Debbie Reynolds. And why wouldn't they? She's a fucking treasure.
And she's beautiful.
Oh, love her. Just absolute treasure. But this also results in Taylor being labeled as the home wrecker.
Right.
Nobody says boo.
Which is, of course,
about
not
Eddie Fisher.
Which is not fucking cool.
No, and it's sad to see that hasn't changed because nobody said shit about Brad Pitt.
No.
Nope.
People had shirts.
Said shit about Justin Bieber.
Do you remember?
It's always the women.
Do you remember the team Jennifer, team Angelina shirts? Like people would wear.
So stupid.
And it was all the discourse was around that and all the conversation. And to this day, you will still see that because people don't have sympathy. There's a lot of stuff out now about Brad and Angelina's relationship and how actually like bad it was and stuff like that. And to this day, you can get in the comment section and say, well, she deserved it because she went in and wrecked their home. She wrecked their home.
The fucking narrative is always been it's a woman's fault when a man cheats.
Woof.
Right. And it's the woman's fault who he cheats with. Like it's always
the woman's fault.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that too, I think that hindsight for Elizabeth Taylor, obviously in this relationship, and she can look back fully with an open eye and say, the two of them got married. She actually converted to Judaism because Eddie was Jewish. But this is also too something I read about. She was like very, very like much wanted to do that. That was something that in her heart she always felt very attached to that religion and something she wanted to do. So she did that.
She was happy to do it.
She was happy to do it and married him in a Vegas temple in 1959. So literally like I think it was like 9 days it was like really quickly after the divorce.
That is so.
But I think she also too has said in many things that it was a mistake. She was like,
well, and I'm not even
she was grieving.
I'm not even judging her as much as I'm judging him. Like I'm just like to leave your wife and the mother of your children or child. I don't know how many kids he had.
Carrie.
Just Carrie.
I think so. Yeah. Or maybe they had
to leave that person. It feels very cold, like very heartless to remarry that fast.
Sorry,
it really does. It really does.
Sorry, my dog is barking.
It's okay.
I hope you can hear that.
That's a special treat for the listeners if they can hear that.
Rose is guarding us with her life. But yeah, Taylor does. I mean, she basically is just like, I ended up with him because I was grieving. I was grieving. He was there. He helped me through it. And, I don't think that it was a love match so much as a grief match. But at any rate, when she meets Richard then on the set of Cleopatra, she is married. Oh, she says Taylor describes meeting Richard and being very nervous. She's like, oh my God, this guy is a actor. You know what I mean? She's like, I just act in films. Like this guy is an actor.
Classically trained.
He is in real theater. He has a real theater background. He's the kind of guy who knows everyone's lines, all the cues. He's the kind of guy who's going to come to set. I'm going to be a fucking mess. And he's going to be so amazing.
Not to mention he was handsome too.
And yeah, he's handsome, but he's also, like, sure. She probably, in some ways, because she's been doing it for so long, there's probably a little part of there that felt like, especially when you're coming from somebody who's a theater background and been raised and brought up in this theater, she's probably like, there's probably a little imposter syndrome.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. You know? And so for her, she's just like, oh my God. But then he shows up on set that day thoroughly hungover. He is so hungover that he's shaking and splotchy, and he can't even get the coffee to his mouth.
You can't fix him, babe. Don't do it. Walk away. Walk away right now.
But it's this moment of vulnerability. No. Listen, Pisces.
No, I know exactly, because I would do the same thing. I'd be like, oh, sweet baby.
This moment of vulnerability, this little broken birdie needed help, and she was there.
Oh, God.
He, for some of the stuff I had read, was not into her at first either. He initially was like, nah, I'm not into this bitch. She is overrated, right? She's not even as beautiful as everybody says.
Mid.
Yeah. He's like, her boobs are too big and her short in the leg.
Her waist is too small and her boobs are too big and her eyes are too
beautiful. Yeah. It just was like, but when they finally did meet, it was boom, instant chemistry. The sparks flew.
Beware of that. Mm-hmm. Honestly.
But it was this vulnerability that really kind of humanized him for her, because she was like, this man is above human. And then when she met him and he had this like kind of
both of those things are bad. Yeah. Like her having that idealized version of him as a Pisces. Let me speak.
Yes.
As a Pisces. That kind of delusion of like having that idealized built up version in your head that you have completely sold yourself on is very much a Pisces trait.
Well, and it also is like, well, then I can make him that.
Yes. Right. Yes. Exactly. I can build him up to that thing I had in my head. So, and now I have an in, and the in is this, like, he's showing up to work.
Ma'am.
So hungover he can't function. It's not a green flag.
Nope.
I'll tell you that much.
Nope.
Baby.
It's literally the reddest of flags.
Yeah,
Richard Burton
it.
has an alcohol problem, and like you'll hear later some of the stories, but he for sure has an alcohol problem. It's in the Life article. She talks about how he showed up again, thoroughly shaking, but that vulnerability made him human to her. The crew soon becomes aware of the not so secret affair. And even Eddie himself would leave. He's just left them in Italy and was like, while the couple had scenes together, because he was like, it was just embarrassing to him for their blatant flirtation.
Karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
Apparently, the paparazzi also caught onto the affair fairly quickly. They started publishing images of Burton and Taylor together and called it the affaire Le Scandale.
Ooh.
The Vatican called it erotic vagrancy. They were furious.
I don't think you need to comment on it. The Pope, don't you have other shit to do?
Yeah, she's Jewish now too. None of your business.
They were even encouraging the U.S. to not allow them to come back into the United States.
Go fuck yourself. Seriously, we have bigger problems.
Really.
But it was. But despite the awful way that it started, it does seem that her and Richard were a love of a lifetime. Eventually, when they during the filming, actually, there was a story that just to kind of speak to kind of the volatility of their relationship. There was a period of time when Elizabeth came back to work with 2 black eyes and like bruised ribs. And she was like, it was a car accident. But it does feel like everybody on set was like, was it? Are you sure about that?
Oh, no.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, that narrative that like, oh, it's because he's so passionate about me and he loves me.
He loves me so much. And he's so...
That's fucking awful.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So eventually then they did both get divorced. And they were married in Montreal on March 15th, 1964. Elizabeth was 32. Richard is 38 at the time. The couple both enjoyed drinking and they fought as hard as they loved. Together, the couple were in 11 films together, but some likened their relationship most closely to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Oh,
that
Lord.
movie.
You know what? I would suggest that for a Tainted Love, except for that movie is like 3 fucking hours long.
It's very long.
I've never seen it.
It's
I've
great.
seen it a couple times.
And
yeah.
especially having done this and like knowing what you know about them, watching it is like, oh, this is therapy. They are working some shit out when you watch it.
Theirs is a love. I don't know if you've had a relationship like that where you at the same time also fucking hate that
Yes.
person so much.
Yeah.
It's volatile in both ways. In the way that I think that they're so volatilely hate each other. Richard has a quote later that I think really sums it up that I'll say.
I bet the sex was incredible.
Oh, I'm
I
sure
thought it was so good.
Oh,
you know,
I'm
I mean,
sure.
but this is the problem. And I've said it many times, like on this podcast, I've said it so many times when we've done Tainted Love movies. Because I loved old movies so much and I watched so many of them, this was a narrative in so many old movies, especially in like noir films, where I really believed that to be loved, and my first major like love relationship played this out to a certain degree, where it's just like you had to fight as hard as you loved, and that meant that your relationship was passionate. That meant that the person loved you.
Yeah, and that narrative is abusive.
Yeah.
It's abusive.
It is.
It's abusive.
And you can see it seems to like on both ends of this. Like I'm not saying that Elizabeth Taylor was some gem in this relationship either. It does feel like they both gave as much as they got. But it is volatile. They love to party hard. They drink heavily. They own
that never helps.
No.
They owned homes across the globe. They traveled the world. They lived an elaborate lifestyle. I mean, and they got the money for it. You know what I mean? When they would rent hotel rooms, they would rent the hotel suites above them and below them because their fights would get so
That's considerate.
That's nice, actually.
It says their passionate fights could get loud.
That's
not what that is.
I don't like that.
Like you should never be physical with your partner in that way. And I know that they were both physical with each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they had private planes and yachts and
Imagine being like the personal assistant to one of them. You're just like, oh Jesus, you're ducking out of the way of like whiskey glasses that are getting thrown and shit. Like Jesus.
There's a job that I can never do, and at the top of that list is to be an executive assistant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nope. When I watch Succession and I'm watching that assistant, Kendall's assistant, I'm like, hard fucking pass.
Yeah, you can't pay me enough.
I don't care.
And I do think they get paid pretty well.
They do, and you're getting flown all over the place in private planes and shit. It's not worth it.
You have patience of a saint if you're doing that job.
Oof. Yes.
Seriously.
Burton, who wrote in 1971, I loved Elizabeth to the point of idolatry.
It's not good.
Yeah. He presented her with so many gifts. Some of the ones that were listed were the 69-carat Taylor Burton diamond, so large that they named it after them.
Was that the yellow diamond?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
And a 50-carat pearl, and also a 33 carat Krupp diamond. The Krupp family had helped make German weaponry in World War II. Taylor noted, quote, I always thought it kind of poetic that a nice Jewish girl like me gets to wear it.
Oh, I mean, okay. Like,
I feel like that moment in Seinfeld when the dentist becomes Jewish so he can make Jewish jokes.
It's hard. Well, because
okay, I guess
I'm of two minds, because there is also this theory that like a lot of Black people have that they're going to go and purchase these plantation houses because they're just like, we're going to switch the narrative. Yeah. We're going to turn the tables. I get to own the plantation now. And I'm like, who's to say that you shouldn't be allowed to do that? But as for me, as for me in my home,
yeah.
It also just feels very like love bomby. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, all this other stuff is highly abusive and toxic, but if I buy you a big enough diamond, that makes it okay.
It feels like a lot of I'm sorry's.
I read a lot like there's a lot of letters between the two of them published, and most of the letters from Richard are just like, I'm so sorry, I'll be better, thank you so much for taking care of me last night. It's those types of things.
So it's like a George and Tammy sitch.
That's fucking gross. Okay.
I don't know enough about that situation.
Dude.
I would love somebody to do that for Tainted Love.
There's that show. I didn't watch it.
I watched it. Yeah. It's Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain.
You know, the other one I want to watch is the Vernon Fosse.
Ooh.
Yeah, I want to watch that one too.
Elizabeth describes their relationship, quote, we were like magnets. She said, alternatively pulling toward each other and exonerably pushing away.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you kind of get this, truly that. And in 1966...
That's torture. I feel bad for them.
Yeah. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Elizabeth wins an Oscar for this movie, right?
How did he feel about that?
And of course, Richard. Yeah, Richard is he's like a little jealous. And he even admits that he has some jealousy toward them. The two became known as the Battling Burtons. And not long after their 10th anniversary in 1974, in which one of the articles, there is a beautiful letter from Elizabeth to her husband about how amazing it was that they'd made it 10 years and how much love they were. But it wasn't long after that was written that they were announcing their divorce. It seems that the battles were just too much. But apparently they could not stay away from each other and ended up remarrying once again in October of 1975. But this time the marriage didn't last either. And it would only just be 10 months in that second marriage that they would hold out.
Guys, call it a day. Yeah. Enough. It's not going to work. I get it.
Burton seemed to, kind of understand why their time together was over. He really hit, and this is basically a full pull quote from one of the articles I was reading. He says, Elizabeth and I lived on the edge of an exciting volcano. It's not easy to be married, or I'm not easy to be married to or live with. I exploded violently about twice a year with Elizabeth. So she would also explode. It was marvelous, but it could be murder. So
you're lucky it wasn't murder.
I think that's exactly what we were all lucky about. And I think that they both kind of started to realize that it was to the point where it's like, okay, the volatility level is so extreme that we cannot.
That has to be exhausting. Like living in that day in and day out, the stress of it.
And one of the letters I was reading to, Elizabeth basically had said to him, like, my kids don't even like you anymore. The kids are, So, no. I mean, it has to be bad. The kids are seeing this.
They got divorced then for the second time, though. She would have been at like 43 or whatever.
42 for 3,
You start to get tired.
Girl, truly. I'm too tired for this. Yeah. I ain't got the patience for this.
Right.
I'm about the age she was when she married him the first time, and I'm too tired.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that shit.
They did both move on to two more spouses apiece. Burton told reporters that after taking her home after a 50th birthday celebration in 1982, so they had stayed in touch all this time. They had both been married, remarried, and also on their way of divorce. Burton did come to her 50th birthday celebration. Burton had told reporters after that night that she may marry someone else, and so may I, but I will always be drawn back to each other.
Oh, well, that feels good.
For the next person who comes along, yeah. I don't want to know that.
Nope, I sure don't. I sure don't. Listen, I think it's good to have like a good, healthy relationship with your ex, and everything, and to be friends and be like, oh, it didn't work romantically or whatever. But when you're like, say something like that, I'm like,
yeah.
Well, no, you shouldn't be getting remarried then. It's not fair to the person who you're with next.
Right. Yeah.
That's not fair.
No, I totally agree. In 1984, Burton, at the age of 58, dies of a cerebral hemorrhage.
58.
Young.
While he's sleeping in his home in Switzerland. He's remarried at the time.
What causes a cerebral hemorrhage?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, but for a lot of people, they feel like he had a lifelong problem with drinking. Heavy drinker. One of the times before he had gone to one of his rehab situations, he was up to 3 bottles of vodka a day.
Whoa, baby, vodka.
Smoking 3 to 5 packs of cigarettes a day. So I mean, this guy is
hold the fucking phone. 5 packs of cigarettes a day. Ugh.
Plus 3 bottles of vodka
in a day.
His insides were just disintegrating.
Pickled. Like you're. Yeah. So you can see how volatile this person is. I mean, like this is somebody
that's a lot
and has been doing heavy.
That's founding fathers levels of like drinking. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, he's found dead. Taylor claimed that she, right before his death, received a final letter from Burton just days before he passed. In an interview with Vogue, she said, "I was still madly in love with him the day he died. I think he still loved me too." The letter was reportedly buried with Taylor after she died in 2011.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. So she did go on to marry 2 more men. The last of which she married on the ranch, Neverland Ranch.
Yep, I remember
he
that.
was a construction worker that she'd met, and while she was in rehab, the Betty Ford.
He was a younger man, right?
Younger man than her.
Yeah.
And even though they had been not together 15 years. But from the time that when she passed away, they'd always kind of kept in contact too. And she ended up leaving them like over $800,000 in her will. So it seems like she tried to stay, I don't know, close or tried to keep in relationships with people, you know, even when it didn't work out. Also feels very Pisces
It
to
is.
me.
Yes, it is.
You're like, it didn't work out, but we can be friends, right?
Yeah.
I think that, you know, there's a lot to be said. And obviously, both of these people went through a lot. At Burton as well, I mean, he ended up married just as many times as she had.
Yeah. And,
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about that. But I think the lesson is, and I think that it's probably more common in their generation too, where the narrative was like you had to be married.
Yeah.
You know, and I think obviously they could have both used some single time.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
To deal with their issues and start to love themselves and fix themselves and that
She
kind
was
of
in
thing,
a relationship with someone since she was 18.
Yeah,
like her whole
absolutely.
life.
Whole life.
You gotta discover yourself, go through that journey of self-discovery and figure out who you are.
I do think at the end, though, she hadn't been married because she was apart from her last husband for almost 15 years before she died.
Yeah.
So I think that in the end,
She
Maybe.
chose
did
peace.
Maybe.
probably
Yeah.
chose peace, exactly
Lord.
right. And good for her, you know.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I fucking love being married to Eric. I love cohabitating with him 90% of the time. Maybe would like to be a little bit cleaner, but dude, those days in my single apartment were fucking incredible. And some of them are hard and everything like that, but I look back on that incredibly fondly.
Yeah.
And I think it's, if you can, and I do know, again, that's another privilege that I got to live on my own. It's hard to do. It's even harder to do in today's economy and everything.
Yeah.
But God, yeah, it's fucking great to live by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, she had the
fucking
privilege of
great.
money, of course, too. But
Yeah.
like, I think for her, yeah, she didn't really get those peaceful years until the end.
Yeah.
Maybe. And she was
Well,
sick
it's
a lot of those last
Tina
years
Turner,
too. Oh, bless Tina Turner. Thank God she got those last years of peace.
Yeah.
And her husband was an absolute
Yes.
darling.
Yes.
Gem of a man.
Yes.
I mean, I assume he still is, but they loved each other very much. And she had those years of peace that she
Yeah.
was able to have. And I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think Elizabeth Taylor has become like almost a joke in our day and age of like the woman who had like 50 husbands. She's been married like 15
and she became
times,
this
right?
kind of eccentric figure at the end of her
Yeah.
life, where she had this
Right,
big
right.
hair and she made lots
The
of friends
diamonds
with the diamonds
commercials.
commercials.
These diamonds always gave me luck.
Yeah. I think that people look at her as kind of this clownish figure in her later life, but
Sure. A caricature almost.
Yeah.
But she did do amazing things for the AIDS epidemic.
Yes,
bringing light to.
she was an ally to the gay community early on.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think for Burton's part too, he also did some things that were, I think he was like kicked out of the UK because he spoke out against Winston Churchill and some of his really dark statements. And so there was I think that both of them.
Well, you got two traumatized people together, who like maybe love each other but don't have the skills to be able to make that relationship work or work through they haven't worked through their own personal shit, their own personal trauma. Yeah. You cannot. You can't have a healthy relationship with anyone if you are drinking 3 bottles of vodka a day.
No.
Yeah.
Like there is just
And
no
I'm not
way.
saying that's how he lived his entire life, but there was an extreme point in which that happened. And
Man, I can't even imagine what that does to your body.
yeah,
Good Lord.
that's
That's a lot.
intense. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that.
great
I'm
story.
glad that our last one off in the year was like, you know,
Nobody died.
no,
Nobody
yeah.
It was
died.
volatile and it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
And,
But it's
it wasn't
relatable,
great.
I think, in a lot of ways. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people like have had those relationships. Hopefully they've made their way safely out of those
Well, and
relationships.
equate passion with
Right,
love. And
right.
Yeah.
And it also highlights that like it's complicated. Like you can genuinely love someone.
Yeah. You can also
like,
genuinely be a good person.
right. And it
and not
just
together.
not work.
Yep.
Like it just, this doesn't work. It's toxic. It doesn't matter how hard you love. It's not going to work. And you
Yep.
need to recognize when it's time to just let that go and walk away.
Yeah. 2024. Viva la revolution.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
What do you guys?
What are you guys watching?
What am I watching? Oh, the new season of Fargo.
Oh,
It's got
yeah.
fucking Keely from
Yes.
Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Juno Temple. Love her.
She is
She's great.
a tiger
I love
in
her.
this one.
Ooh.
Great.
She is kicking ass. It is awesome. John Hamm, great
Love
in
him.
this. He's great. You got fucking Jennifer Jason Leigh,
I love her.
amazing.
Yeah.
Dave Foley.
Oh, I love Dave Foley.
It's a great cast. So I'm only a few episodes in so far. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Loving it. So definitely recommend.
Awesome. Well, I've been watching Murder in Boston.
Whoa. Hey, I did that one. The Stewart case.
Ooh-wee.
right?
Yes. It's a
That's
Stewart
why I
case.
didn't watch it because you did do it.
And I touched.
Well, you should
I-
watch it
it-
anyway because
Yes.
it talks a lot about, it's more than just about the murder. It's really, a lot of it is about the history of racism in Boston.
Right. And
That-
I only touched on that in my Tainted
Right.
Love because I went back and listened to it. But like what Boston did to their
That
black
community.
is
Horrifying.
fucking terrible.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of activists kind of talking about that. And they
Yes.
also, in the first episode, at the time that we're recording this, the third final episode isn't out yet. It will be out by the time this episode comes out. But the whole first episode is kind of talking about the history of the racial divides in Boston before the murder takes place. So you understand the climate
Where
of
we're at the time.
where we're at the time. And they talk to a lot of like black activists and like people who were around at that time. And it is fascinating.
Yeah.
It is scary.
tough.
That
to
was
watch.
that was a real thing
yeah.
around that time. Was a lot of people being like, "Oh, this black person attacked me" or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah.
such a big thing in like
Yeah,
the
because didn't
90s.
Diane Downs do that too? Or someone else did that
Someone
too. And they said
else
they took
did
her
that.
kids.
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
It was Diane Downs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
So, it's very well done. I would recommend watching it because you do get that like true crime element. Like the next episode, final episode, is when they're finally going to start like digging into knowing.
But like no
who it
apologies.
was.
Nothing.
That's-
No, I mean, and the damage that was done to that community,
Right.
no one ever went in there and tried to repair it. Like, you know, and so that's, but it is fascinating. And it's interesting listening to people talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's also interesting from the perspective of like, people talk about the South being this like incredibly racist place. And like, if you can just get north, then everything's going to be fucking fine.
I gotta
And
be
it's
honest
like,
with you.
No,
When I saw Boston Massacre, I didn't connect it right away, and I was like, "Wait, I thought that happened in the
a
South."
murder in Boston.
And-
Yeah.
When because I was like, I remember the story, and I was like, oh, I thought that happened in the South. See, it already had changed in my
Right.
head because
And,
we're
you
so
know,
used to that narrative.
Not that it
You're
needs to
right.
be said, but like hashtag not all Bostonians.
Of
But it is an
course. And
interesting
not hashtag all the South either.
right,
but
right. But it's an interesting thing because I think people have this mentality that like the South is racist and the North is not. And it's like,
Nope.
that's not the case at all. It just looks different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
I watched a movie on Apple TV called The Family Plan. I think it's what it's called. It was Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
Michelle Monaghan. And it is
I like her.
cute. It's an action flick, but it's funny. Basically, the premise is that Mark Wahlberg is speaking of Boston, is a character who kind of has been in hiding. He used to be like kind of a secret spy or whatever, and he's been hiding this from his family. He's got like 3 kids, and so they all have to go on the run, but he's trying to keep it from them, and it's funny. It's
Fun.
actually really
It sounds
cute.
up your alley for sure.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you guys have something that we should watch, if you have terrible date stories, if you just want to say what's up, and if you want to join the revolution, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com, and we love you so much.
Cheers.